Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This time we're diving into MHA world again. But there is a twist. What if Deku was a Saiyan? If you guys enjoy these kind of fictions, then leave a like and comment down below. With that out of the way, let's start. Today I was having a bad day. It all started out okay earlier this morning when I was on my way to school, when I was able to catch a villain attack during rush hour. I even got to see the up-and-coming heroine MT lady make her debut. It all went down once I arrived at school. As usual, all of the regular bullying and abuse happened. This was only because in a world where 80% of the population possess a superpower dubbed Quirks, and I had no superpowers, so I was dubbed Quirkless. This made me Izuku Midoriya, a social outcast, worthless, perceived as a person without a purpose in the world. When it was revealed back in grade school that I was Quirkless to my classmates, I was immediately castigated and bullied to the highest degree. However, it didn't hurt as much when my former best friend, Katsuki Bakugo, I like to call him Kakin, bullied me. He did it verbally and physically. Hell, even today after classes were over, Kakin literally told me to jump off the roof and hope to have a quirk in the next life. The reason he said this was because our teacher revealed to the class that aside from Kakin, that I will also be applying for you the greatest hero course in all of Japan, knowing that I had no quirk. In Kakin's mind, he knew I had absolutely no chance to make it into the prestigious high school. He also told me that I will die in the exams. Yup, definitely a bad day for me so far. I sighed. However, I had to learn how to deal with it on a daily basis since I was 4. So it was whatever. Taking a shortcut, I tried to get home faster. Walking through a tunnel, I was not paying attention as I found myself captured by a slime villain. The villain was trying to take over my body as he suffocated me to death. I know, today was pretty much horrible at this point, but there was a twist. You see, as I was seconds away from my own death when out of nowhere the number 1 hero, the symbol of peace, All Might would appear to save the day. He would land a Texas smash on the ugly slime villain and freeing me from his grasp. I woke up from my unconscious to see my idol standing before me. I was so excited to see him that I went into complete fanboy mode. I wanted to ask All Might to sign my hero journal number 13, but gasped in delight when I saw that he had already signed it. My excitement wore off as I had to get serious because I wanted to ask All Might one last thing, a question that mattered more than anything to me. This question roamed over my mind for over 10 years. Something that has been answered countless times with the same answer. Can I become a hero, even if I'm quirkless? Before I saw that the number 1 hero was about to leave as he said that he had to turn the villain into the authorities. Seeing this caused me to panic because this may be my one and only chance to ask All Might this question. Because who knows if I will ever have the opportunity to see, let alone ask, All Might this question since he is a very busy person. I decided to take the risk and grab onto All Might as he took off, jumping high into the air. All Might noticed that I was hanging onto his leg for dear life. It forced him to land on a nearby roof, even though his transformation was running out. Landing on the roof, there was a huge puff of smoke. When it cleared, I was shocked to see All Might was gone, and what was left was a skinny, almost anorexic-looking version of All Might. Confused by the situation, I asked the man where All Might went. The skinny man told me that he indeed was All Might, or at least that was his true form, and his real name is Toshinori Yagi. Toshinori then explained to me that 5 years ago, he fought a villain who mortally wounded his respiratory system and destroyed his stomach. He visited countless doctors, but neither one could do anything for the hero. This injury has now limited to All Might only being able to complete 3 hours of hero work each day. Toshinori also explained that it was kept secret from the public because he still has to keep the persona of the symbol of peace. If word got out of his true condition, then villains would take advantage and cause more havoc. That is why it is necessary for All Might to never show any sign of weakness and to always have a smile on his face so that the people won't have to worry because I am here. After Toshinori's explanation, I decided to ask the question, can he become a hero even though he is quirkless? Toshinori frowned, then proceeded to tell me the same as everybody else that I couldn't become a hero. The job of a hero is too dangerous for somebody without a quirk. Rampaging villains would do anything they can do to achieve their goals, and that meant killing as well. Tashinori told me that it is all right to dream big, but he also to dream realistically. Tashinori told me to look into more suitable careers, such as a policeman or firefighter. Those jobs were also very important and admirable, as they also risk their lives to protect and serve the people. Tashinori also asked me to plead me keep all of what he said a secret, as the public don't need to know that the symbol of peace was at all vulnerable. After that, he exited the rooftop and left me alone. I stood there as I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. The one person had been my idol, and hero had told me that I blatantly could not become a hero no matter how hard he tried. All because I wasn't born with a quirk, something that was completely out of his power. There were so many emotions going through my thoughts at that moment. Sadness, anger, hurt, depression, but the biggest one was definitely disappointment. Disappointment in myself and in All Might. How could he say that? He's supposed to inspire hope into other people and motivate them to achieve their dreams. These were my thoughts as I left the rooftop and proceeded to the ground as he heard an explosion. Still disappointed I wasn't paying attention and didn't know I was subconsciously walking to where the commotion was. While I was walking, I was beginning to realize that this day was going from bad to completely horrible. Putting it straight, this has to be the worst day of my entire life, no matter how anyone tries to slice it. Izuku's POV end. Now in the present time, Izuku is walking towards a large crowd to see the fight that started earlier when he and All Might were on the rooftop. That's strange. Is the fight from earlier still going on? Izuku said. Why am I here? Did I subconsciously walk here just to check it out? Izuku thought as he crossed the street to get a closer view. I shouldn't even stop. All of my notes are useless, Izuku thought depressingly. However, his tone shifted as he saw the villain that was causing havoc. That's the same guy who attacked me, Izuku thought as he saw the same slime villain who tried to take his body through the tunnel earlier. That can't be right. All Might captured him. Izuku then thought back to when he and All Might were flying through the air. He must have dropped the bottle when I was holding onto his leg. Izuku then realized another fact. But then that means it's my fault, Izuku said as his face filled with dread. Why aren't the heroes doing anything? A civilian asked as he was a part of the crowd. It looks like they met their match, plus the villain captured a kid, and things aren't looking so good, another civilian responded. He caught someone? I wonder how long they've been in there. How could they survive being suffocated like that? I thought I'd die after only a few seconds of struggling, Izuku said in his mind as he thought back to his near-death experience when he was captured by the very same slime villain. He cringed at the thought of somebody else going through the same traumatic experience. Wait, I'm confused. Isn't that the same villain All Might was chasing earlier today? One civilian asked. What All Might? No way he lost. Where is he? Can someone call him or something? A young woman asked. Seriously, why hasn't he shown up to help the heroes? Tashinori, who was at the back of the crowd, looked down to the ground in anger and was clutching his chest as he couldn't do anything because his time limit was up and couldn't jump in and save the day. Izuku has his hands covering his mouth and looked down in utter shame. I'm the one to blame. He wasted his energy on me, Izuku said in his mind. I'm worthless, Tashinori thought with the same shame as Izuku. He can't power up yet, and none of the other heroes have the quirks to stop this monster. They're not doing anything and are being forced to watch as none of them have the courage to risk their lives. Come on, aren't they called heroes for a reason? Izuku thought with anger. So pathetic, Tashinori said to himself as he is doing nothing but being a bystander. It's my fault. I'm sorry. So sorry, Izuku thought in sadness. I am a disgrace, Tashinori thought as he kept on insulting himself. Help will show up and save the day. I'm sure, Izuku said in his mind with hope. I'm not a real hero, Tashinori said in his mind as he clutched his chest harder and looked downwards. A real hero will come soon, Izuku thought. However, at that moment, Izuku saw the face of the person who was currently being held hostage by the slime villain. He had blonde, spiky hair with red eyes. He was struggling so hard and trying to breathe as he desperately opened his mouth to no avail. The hostage is Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku's eyes widened with shock. He couldn't believe it. His former best friend was getting suffocated and tortured right in front of his eyes. An innocent child who could be moments from death. And he was the cause of it. Even though Izuku has been a victim to Katsuki's traumatic bullying in the past up to the present, he still hasn't done anything near as bad to deserve the sadism he was enduring at the moment. Nobody deserved this. It was too much. Izuku looked at the pro heroes. Nothing. They were doing absolutely nothing to save the child. They were merely helpless bystanders. Not even MT Lady could do anything, as she couldn't transform to full height since the alley was way too narrow and it would risk serious property damage, and even some lives as well. No one was doing anything. At that very moment, something awakened within Izuku. Something that has been dormant for a very long time. Something that has been built up and has been waiting for its release. What is this sensation? Izuku thought as an unknown source of power went through his body, coursing through his veins as he felt his muscles bulging. Wait, he has muscles? Isn't he all skin and bones? Izuku looked towards Bakugo and how he was struggling against the slime villain. Then the look of shock was replaced by a look of determination and anger as he sprinted towards the slime villain. Music. Boku no Hero Academia OST. You say run. Start playing at 0:22 timestamp. Toshinori and all the other heroes gasped as they witnessed Izuku Midoriya run straight ahead towards the villain. No, you idiot. Stop, you're going to get yourself killed. Death Arms yelled as he tried to stop the young man from heading straight into danger. Not this brat again. The slime villain said as he looked towards Izuku. Deku. Katsuki said in shock as he couldn't believe that his Quirkless classmate and former best friend was running towards him, seemingly to save him. What am I doing? Why am I running? Why can't I stop? Izuku thought to himself as he kept running at full speed towards the villain as he continued to feel the unfamiliar. Yet it felt so natural, power flowing through him, giving him an unbelievable amount of power that felt so right that it was almost unexplainable. You're toast, kid. The slime monster yelled as he aimed his fist towards Izuku. Izuku took off his book bag and threw it towards the monsters to momentarily stun him. This loosened his grasp on Katsuki and gave him the opportunity to finally breathe. Izuku then jumped high in the air and landed a strong right fist straight at the slime villain. The punch was so strong that it was able to push the villain back about 50 meters. This allowed Katsuki to finally be freed from the villain's grasp as he looked at Izuku in shock. What the hell? Why are you here? Katsuki asked Izuku. He was about to respond, but suddenly Izuku started moving towards the slime villain again at high speeds. What in the world is happening to me? My body is moving on its own. Yet for some reason this power, why does it feel so good and so natural? Izuku thought as he got closer to the villain. Okay, now you've made me mad. I'm going to kill you, you damn brat, the slime villain yelled as he threw tentacles towards Izuku. However, Izuku is somehow able to dodge all of the attacks perfectly and uppercut the villain with even more force. Is my body moving out of pure instinct? Izuku thought as he saw the slime villain land to the ground after getting hit with an uppercut that generated so much force. It was able to create shockwaves that pushed the bystanders back a few steps and even broke some nearby windows. Izuku turned around, tears around his eyes and with a big smile on his face. Kachin, I couldn't just stand there and watch you die. Toshinori gasped in utter shock. Here was a quirkless boy doing everything in his power to save the hostage while he was just being a bystander doing absolutely nothing. I have to do something, no matter the cost. Toshinori thought as his body began to get bigger and steam was forming around him. I'm done playing with you, the slime villain said as he moved towards Izuku to finish him off. Save the boy. This thing will kill him. Death Arms yelled as the pro heroes began to advance to get Izuku out of the way of the slime villain's attack. Izuku, however, felt no fear and was about to counterattack her when there was a mini explosion in front of him that made him cover his face. I really am pathetic. Izuku opened his eyes to see that All Might was the one who blocked the villain's attack. All Might, but I told you the traits to make a great champion. but I see now that I wasn't living up to my own ideal. Izuku and Katsuki looked on in amazement as they witnessed the number one hero lift the tentacle upward and made a fist. Pros are always risking their lives. That's the true test of a hero. All Might yelled as blood was escaping through his mouth, illustrating the pain that he was suffering due to forcing his hero form beyond his 3-hour time limit. Damn you, All Might! The slime villain then began to strike the number one hero using numerous slime tentacles. Detroit Smash! All Might yelled as he punched the villain square in the face and created a tornado that produced shockwaves and winds that were blowing everyone away, both figuratively and literally. Music end. All Might panted as everybody looked in awe at his raw power. It then began to rain as the clouds were moving. Holy crap! He changed the weather, DekuxHarem said. Then the crowd started cheering as All Might saved the day once again. After that, the heroes collected all of the scattered mounds of sludge, and the villain went into police custody where he belonged. There were crowds of reporters and cameras trying to get an opportunity to speak to All Might. Izuku got chewed out by the heroes big time, while Katsuki was praised for his bravery. The one who was hostage and almost died was getting praised for bravery, while the one who risked his life and saved the hostage was castigated. Oh, the irony. Sunset came and Izuku was walking home. He wanted to apologize to All Might, but he was swarmed by interviewers. He didn't want to interrupt. He can always try to send a message through his website when he gets home. He was also feeling really tired after fighting the slime villain. He felt really sleepy and really needed to take a nap. He was still trying to figure out just what exactly he did back there. That power, speed, strength, agility, and instinct. His body was moving on its own. Was it his quirk? It didn't feel human, but it did feel natural, almost like a primal power that he is only now experiencing. And it also felt like he knew how to fight. The way he was dodging and counteracting. He wasn't even nervous or scared, more like excited. Deku. Izuku turned around and saw Katsuki running up to him. Kachin, listen, I would never ask a weakling like you to help me. Don't think you can look down on me. Got that. I was fine by myself. You're just a quirkless failure who won't even cut it as cop. You didn't help me. You did nothing. Don't forget it. I don't owe you anything. Katsuki then turned around and began to walk off. Izuku's sweat dropped. What was that? Kachin is right, though. It's not like I did anything to help today, but at least I tried. Guess now I should get back to giving up on my dreams. Izuku said as he began to walk back towards home. I am here. All Might yelled as he landed in front of Izuku. All Might, why are you here? How did you get rid of all of those reporters? Haha, I stand for justice, not sound bites, because I am All Mig-Dash. All Might was cut off as his transformation ran out and now returned to his true form while spitting out blood and coughing as Izuku screamed in shock. Young man, I came here to thank you, and also to discuss your question from earlier. Tashinori said, if you hadn't told me about your life, if you hadn't run into that fight, I would have been a worthless bystander watching from the crowd. So thanks. Oh no, it was my fault he was there to begin with. I got in the way of your hard work. I wasted your energy, and not to mention your time. Izuku responded, I'm not done. You told me you didn't have a quirk. So when I saw this timid quirkless boy try to save a life, it inspired me to act too. Izuku gasped as he processed the words his idol, the number one hero, just said. There are stories about every hero, how they became great. Most have one thing in common. Their bodies moved before they had a chance to think, almost on their own. Music, Boku no Hero Academia OST 2. You can become a hero. Izuku's eyes widened as he began to shed tears. For some reason, he remembered his mother's words in that moment. I'm sorry, Izuku. I wish things were different. Izuku clutched his chest with both hands as he began to lower towards the floor. And today, that's what happened to you. Izuku's mother never told him the thing he wanted her to say back then. The words he needed to hear. The wind started blowing as cherry blossoms flew through the air. Young man, you too can become a hero, Tashinori said. Izuku then began to sob fully. Dreams can become reality. Mark Twain once said, The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. And on this day is when Izuku Midoriya found out that he indeed was born to become a hero. Izuku clutched his chest even harder as he began thinking of all of the doubters and bullies that told him that he was useless, worthless, and had no shot to become a hero. Izuku needed someone to tell him that he can become a hero, and the person he admires most in the world just did. Honestly, part of him thought he would never hear those words. You can become a hero, much less from All Might. I deem you worthy of my power. My quirk is yours to inherit, Toshinori said as he put out his two hands in a motion like he was trying to give someone something. Izuku stopped crying and looked up with tears still around his eyes and mouth. Huh, wait, what do you mean inherit? Inherit what? Izuku asked with a confused look on his face. Ha ha ha, you should see your face right now. Don't worry, I'm not going to force this thing on you. Toshinori laughed as he walked closer to where Izuku was sitting. Toshinori raises his index finger pointing up towards the sky. Listen well, young man. This is your choice. Toshinori points his finger towards Izuku now. Do you want to accept my awesome power or not? He yells as blood comes out his mouth. Izuku continues to look at Toshinori with a clueless face. What's he talking about? How is this? Toshinori rubs the blood away from his mouth. There are a couple things you should know about my abilities. Journalists always guess my quirk as super strength or some kind of invulnerability. When people ask an interview, I always make a joke and dodge the question. And it's because the world needs to believe that their symbol of peace is just a natural-born hero like any other. But I'm not. There's something natural about my ability. Toshinori then spread his arms out and looked towards the sky. I wasn't born with this power. It is a sacred torch that was passed on to me from someone else. Someone gave you this quirk? No way, Izuku said in shock. The wind blows as Toshinori's shirt moves, revealing bits of his scar. Yes, way, and you're next. I can give you my abilities, Toshinori said in a dramatic pose. Wait, hold on, this is a lot to process, Izuku replied. It's true there's a lot of debate as to what your quirk actually is. Nobody has ever figured it out. It's one of the world's greatest mysteries. People are constantly talking about it online. While the idea of passing on a quirk and inheriting it just doesn't make any sense to me. I never heard anything like it. A power is supposed to be unique to each individual. And since the first superpowers, no one has been able to just give someone their power like a present. That's crazy. If this is true, this has changed everything we knew about quirks to begin with. Izuku kept on muttering and muttering as Toshinori looked on awkwardly. Sounds like you're overthinking this whole inheriting thing. Stop nerding out. Izuku stopped his muttering as he heard Toshinori shout. You'll have to adjust your reality and accept this new truth. I could transfer my quirk to someone else. And that's just one facet of my secret abilities. Toshinori holds out his hand as rainbow-colored light starts to emit from his palm. The true name of my power is One for All. Toshinori revealed with emphasis on the one for all part. One, for, all. Izuku said slowly in awe as the name itself radiates power. Yes, one person improves the power, then hands it off to another person and continues to grow as it's passed along. Toshinori says as inside Toshinori's soul, multiple different colored stars move and turn into bigger and brighter stars as it finally stops when it reaches to a bright yellow star. It is this cultivating power that allows me to save those who are in need of a hero. The truth behind my strength. Toshinori finished as the rainbow-colored light in his palm faded. But why would you choose to give me a gift like that? What if I can't live up to it? Izuku asked. I was on a long hunt for a worthy successor. And then I watched you jump into action as the rest of us idly by. You may just be a Quirkless fanboy, but you tried to save that kid. You acted like a hero. Toshinori answered Izuku's question. Izuku then began to cry tears of joy from listening to the inspiring words of his idol. Toshinori saw this and began to laugh. Come on, seriously, you've got to stop crying like that if you want my quirk. Come on, kid. Izuku made a fist in his left hand. He said so much to encourage me. He even told me the secret behind his powers. Is this what I've been waiting for all these years? How can I turn him down? Izuku said in his head as he wiped the tears off his face. Izuku stands up with a determined look on his face. Okay, I'll do it, yes. Izuku accepts Tashinori's offer. No reluctance. That's exactly how I figured you'd respond, Tashinori said with a smirk. Meet me at the Dagoba Municipal Beach in 2 days, 5 a.m. sharp. That is where we will begin your training for you to inherit one for all. Right? I'll be there, Izuku responded. All right, one more thing. Mind explaining me those moves you pulled off while fighting the sludge villain? Where did all of that speed and strength come from? I thought you said you were quirkless. Did you lie to me? Tashinori asked the green-haired boy as he never seen moves like that before. It was like he was fighting as an experienced fighter with such expertise, and it seemed like he knew what he was doing. Izuku waved his hands around in panic. What? No. I would never lie to you, All Might. I really am quirkless. What happened back there? I don't know how to explain it. My body was moving on its own, on pure instinct. I felt something, a power so great that it flooded throughout my body and filled me with excitement. I had no fear, I was just going with the flow. I've never had any kind of experience like this, yet it felt so natural, like I was born to fight, and it just awakened. Izuku finished as he looked at his hands in wonder. Tashinori hummed. This is something that I should keep an eye on. It may be a hidden quirk that was never awakened until met with a life or death situation. Tashinori thought as he returned his attention to the freckled boy. We'll talk about this later. It's getting late, so head on home and get some rest so you're ready in 2 days. All right. And with that, the two parted ways and Izuku went home to rest for the upcoming trials ahead. When Izuku reached his house, he immediately felt tired and yawned. Must be from all of the stress today. I should go take a shower. Izuku proceeded to the bathroom and took a warm shower, and, as he was washing himself, he felt a slight bump near his butt. Must be a bruise from the sludge villain, Izuku assumed, and finished showering and proceeded to bed. As soon as he reached his room, he collapsed on the bed and felt really sleepy. Man, I'm really tired today. Oh well, lights out. Izuku, though, as he shut off the lights and proceeded to fall in a deep slumber. The next day, Izuku woke up from his deep sleep. He yawned and stretched as he got up from his bed. Whoa, I slept good. I feel full of energy, Izuku said as he headed to his bathroom. As he walked to the bathroom, Izuku felt really weird. He didn't feel any pain or drowsiness, but something felt off. For one, Izuku felt a little higher, as if he was standing on a stool or something. Also, he felt like something was attached to his bottom. He didn't have any clue as to why that is, and his clothes felt really tight. When he reached the bathroom and looked at the mirror, his eyes widened in shock. Standing in front of the mirror wasn't the skinny little plain Deku that he was known as. No, standing there was a young man with a height of 5 feet 11 inches with broad shoulders and a defined, lean muscles all throughout his body that would put most bodybuilders to shame. There was no more baby fat, as his face had defined cheekbones and a sharp jaw, with a face that resembled more like a man than a boy. His chest was much bigger, and so were his biceps and triceps that they were bulging under the now too small and tight shirt Izuku was wearing. His hair was longer, denser, thicker, and much more spiky and a lot more darker. While all of this is surprising to say the least, the thing that shocked Izuku the most was what was behind him, more specifically a part of him. Behind him was a wagging brown monkey tail that was a few feet long. It was moving freely as it was the most normal thing in the world. What in the world? Why do I have a monkey tail, and why do I look so different? Wait a minute, could this be my quirk? Izuku thought as he closed his eyes and concentrated. He felt it, the same rush of power he felt yesterday against the sludge villain. Only this time, he felt more in control, and like it was something he has had for his entire life. I feel the exact same energy when I was fighting the sludge villain. Is this really my quirk? If so, what exactly is I dash? Izuku, are you still sleeping? It's past noon already. It's time to get up. Izuku Midoriya said as she walked towards her son's room, but stopped when she saw the bathroom door open. She peeked inside and saw a completely different Izuku inside with a brown monkey tail. Izuku, honey, what happened to you? Inko asked in shock as she couldn't believe her son was in the bathroom, taller and packed with muscles that looked he worked his entire life to gain. Not to mention the fact that he had tail too. I don't know, Mom. I just woke up and I looked in the mirror and saw this. I think this could be my quirk that has finally awakened, Izuku said as he tried swinging his tail, which he successfully did. Well, okay. You can explain in a minute. I'm going to go look for some of your father's clothes, as it looks like they can fit you now, Inko said as she went to her husband's old closet to fetch some apparel for Izuku. After putting on some of his father's clothes, Izuku explained everything that happened yesterday with his fight with the sludge villain, leaving out the part where All Might picked him as his successor, obviously. Inko thought Izuku's new quirk was a bit strange. His father, Hisashi Midoriya, who works overseas, quirk is that he can breathe fire. Her own quirk is the attraction of small objects. Usually a child's quirk is either one of the parents' quirks or a combination of both. So where in the world did that monkey tail come from? Nevertheless, she felt extremely happy for the fact that her son finally has his own quirk. She felt guilty for all of the trauma that Izuku had to endure because of his quirkless status. She hated that he wasn't able to inherit her power or his father's. She even felt guilty for not encouraging and inspiring him to pursue his dream no matter what. Instead, she just said sorry. But now, Izuku has a power now and has a chance to follow his dream, and that's all a mother can ask for. Izuku, please be careful, honey. Don't hurt yourself testing out your new powers. We don't want a repeat of what happened with the sludge villain, Inko said as she was worried for her son's safety after the incident yesterday. Don't worry, Mom. I won't do something that's stupid, Izuku said as he ate his breakfast and went outside to test his new quirk out. Izuku went to his backyard and decided to see if he can recreate the moves he performed against the sludge villain. All right, let's see how high I can jump. Izuku then jumped with all of his might as he rocketed towards the air in high speeds. He looks down and sees that he's up so high that he's about 200 feet in the air looking down toward his neighborhood. Whoa, I didn't know I can jump as high. Hold on, why aren't I falling down? Izuku looks down and sees that he's floating. What? I can fly too? Just what is my quirk? Izuku said in shock as he went down back to his backyard. All right, let me test out my strength. Izuku then punched the ground with so much force that it was able to create a mini shockwave and craters in the ground. Izuku looked at his fist in awe. It was unbelievable. He was able to go from a weak little quirkless boy to a guy who's able to fly with superhuman strength. Wow, what else can I do with this power? One day later, Dagoba Municipal Beach is a beach that was once a beautiful place with golden sand and a glistening blue ocean. It was an ideal spot for young couples to come and relax and express their love for one another. But now it is a complete dumpster, full of trash and garbage. It has been a total mess for the last few years. Because of the ocean currents, anything that is dropped in the water ends up on the beach. People take advantage of that when they're illegally dumping their trash. Now all the locals avoid this place. Tashinori is on the beach waiting patiently for a certain green-haired boy to show up. He looked at his phone, and the time read 4:58 a.m. He should be arriving any minute now, Tashinori said as he looked towards the entrance of the beach. In the distance, he could see what seemed to be a young man with a mop of green, spiky hair, running to the beach with a bright green tracksuit on as he was getting near to where Tashinori is standing. Wait a minute, is that? Tashinori said in surprise as the young man reached Tashinori. Hey, All Might, I'm here. 5 a.m. sharp, just like you said. So why did you tell me to come here to train in this dumpster? Izuku asked with curiosity as he wondered how this would be the ideal training place. Wait a second. Young Midoriya, is that you? When were you this tall? And where did all of those muscles come from? And is that a tail? Tashinori asked as he couldn't believe that the skinny, plain, little boy with no quirk is the same tall and muscular young man standing right in front of him right now. Izuku smiled and rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. Well, you see, Izuku told Tashinori all of what transpired the day before, how he woke up and the powers he discovered that he had. He hypothesized that this is his quirk that took a long time to manifest, probably because of the physical requirements needed to use properly. Izuku demonstrated his power by picking up a fridge with one hand and absolutely crushing it with the other hand. He then showed how fast he was by running so quick he was able to run across the ocean. After that, he flew up so high that Tashinori thought he was dreaming. After Izuku's demonstration, Tashinori turned into his hero form. My goodness, never have I seen such feats from such a young boy. It seems that inheriting one for all will be better much easier than expected. Wait, what do you mean by that? Izuku asked as he flew back down to the beach. What I mean is that my quirk one for all is a whole lot to handle. The combined physical prowess of everyone who has ever used it creates a hurricane of pure force. An unprepared body can't fully inherit it. Your arms and legs would shoot off if you tried to. Izuku imagines his limbs tearing off and his body falling apart and decimating itself. He cringed. Seriously? Damn, that's harsh. Izuku shook his head as he tried to get the image out of his head. Okay, so this whole trash thing is some kind of hardcore gym workout. And you're my trainer. All Might smirked and did a thumbs up. You got it. But there's another reason too. I did a little online research yesterday. Turns out this part of the beach used to be beautiful, but it's been a total mess for years. Izuku looked around and nodded in agreement. Yeah, people just throw their garbage here, and since it's already a mess, people wouldn't suspect a difference. It's a shame nobody has taken the time to clean this place up. Izuku said with disappointment, as one would think a hero would at least try to renovate the place. Heroes these days are all about showing off and capturing flashy villains. Things were different before quirks. Service is what mattered. Back then, heroes were those who helped the community, even if it was kind of boring. All Might said as he grabbed a microwave and crushed it effortlessly. You will restore the coastline for this entire section of the beach. That is the first step of your path, young man, towards being a hero. All Might finished as he stared into Izuku's eyes seriously. All this? But there is so much, Izuku said, looking around the entire beach, which was filled to brim with garbage of all different kinds. That's impossible. Young Midoriya, you want to go to Utah, right? Well, yeah, of course. You went there, so it must be the best school around, right? Izuku looks down and balls his right fist. It's a long shot, but still, I'm going to shoot for the moon. You've got a lot of spirit, fanboy. But as I said before, being a hero isn't easy to do without a quirk. It's not fair, but that's unfortunately the reality. And U.A is the hardest hero course to get into. So that means that I have to prepare my body for your quirk really fast. U.A's exams are in 10 months. All Might took out sheets of paper. Not to worry, kid. I've got you covered with the help of my handy aim to pass American Dream plan. Follow this to the letter, and you'll clean up just in time. I also detailed every other aspect of your life while I was at it. Izuku looked at the sheets of paper. Wow, even my sleep is scheduled. If I'm being honest, this is going to be super hard. Think you're up to it? Izuku smirked and gained a look of confidence. Yeah, sure I am. I have to work 100 times harder to get in if I'm going to outdo everybody else. So what choice do I have, right? Music, Boku no Hero Academia OST. Hero, a instrumental. Izuku went right to work, taking as much trash as he could at a time. Ever since he's gotten his newfound power, his overall strength, speed, and stamina increased to the level of superhuman. He's able to lift cars and trucks that weigh several tons with relative ease. His efficiency in cleaning up the trash was so off the charts that All Might estimated that Izuku may get the job done with time to spare. When Izuku returned to school, all of his teachers and peers were speechless. They almost couldn't recognize him as he looked like a totally different person. It was unreal to them. When they saw his tail, they were even more shocked as they thought the green spiky-haired nerd didn't have a quirk. He explained to the class that his quirk finally awakened during the whole sludge villain ordeal. He theorized that the quirk is mutant/physical enhancement type that required the user's body to be developed in order to use, as if he would have had it when he was 4. It may have been too much for his small body to handle. Surprisingly, Katsuki Bakugo didn't really give Izuku's newfound quirk much glance. If anything, he probably still thought he was much superior thanks to his incredibly powerful explosion quirk. After that day, Bakugo and pretty much everybody else stopped bullying Izuku. This was most likely because Bakugo respected Izuku a little for what he did against the sludge villain, and now that he had a quirk, it moved him up on the proverbial food chain in society. Since Izuku's innate power gave him inhuman amounts of stamina and endurance, he was able to study and do his schoolwork with ease since he didn't feel much fatigue after the morning and afternoon workouts cleaning trash that he would have otherwise felt. Another cool aspect Izuku discovered about his new abilities was that he is able to feel the energy signature of any living being. He could tell where someone was located based on their unique power level, which is what he liked to call it, and he could how strong exactly someone was and assess their abilities. This would be a very useful ability as a hero, where he could predict the power level of dangerous villains. Another ability Izuku had was what he dubbed Ki blasts, which were small laser-like blasts generated through an energy called Ki and fire them like projectiles. This was especially useful as long-range attacks, since it wouldn't be a good idea to always fight somebody at close combat, depending on what type of quirk they had. Izuku set time aside to practice his Ki control, so he would be able to increase the efficiency of his Ki attacks and hopefully master them to an extent before the UDA exams. Izuku gave his mother a recipe for the new diet he would have to take courtesy of All Might's training. A side effect of Izuku's new quirk was that it increased his metabolism, which allowed him to eat a ridiculous amount of food that wasn't normal by human standards. Inko was surprised at first, but she smiled and didn't mind it since she had no problem cooking for her beloved son. Izuku loved his mother's cooking, and it would motivate him to keep on training and studying as hard as he could in order to achieve his dream to become a hero. His motivation was so strong, he even went to the beach and did extra cleanup during the times that he was supposed to be sleeping. He wanted to get it done as soon as possible and to get as much training as he could before the exams. I need to train 1,000 times harder than anyone else if I want to be the #1 hero, is what he told himself when he would spend the late night and early morning hours cleaning trash as fast as he could. He was so serious about his training that he even put training weights on all 4 of his limbs, weighing 200 pounds each in order to increase his strength and endurance, so that he could be the best possible vessel he can be for One for All. When Tashinori would arrive at 5 a.m. at the beach, Izuku would already be there hard at work, disposing as much garbage as possible, going at incredible speeds, even with his training weights on. Tashinori was appalled at Izuku's pure work ethic so much that it even scared him a little. The only person that he could think of with the same kind of work ethic was his old sensei, Gran Torino. Izuku would spend so much time on training that it wouldn't be far-fetched to say he was addicted to training. However, it would be a healthy addiction, as Tashinori knew the disadvantage that the young man was put under for the majority of his life. Not having a quirk at an early age and not adapting and training it like other kids of his generation have already done is a big detriment to Izuku's overall growth and chances of making it into UA. However, if there's one thing that Izuku has over anybody else is his will and ambition. He has the will of a hero, and that can take someone a long way. Couple that with his work ethic, incredible power, and the fact that he will soon be inheriting One for All, there is no limit to what he can achieve. The same pattern repeated as Izuku would start working before Tashinori got there, go to school, lift weights under the table during class, eat, study, sleep, train, and train some more. After a while, Izuku got accustomed to his training weights, so he increased them to 2,000 pounds each. He kept these weights on 24/7, even when he was showering or sleeping, because he wanted his physical body to get used to the strain so that when he inherits One for All, it won't be a problem for his body and he will be able to adjust with relative ease. This made his body add in even more body muscles and made his figure even bulkier, but not too bulky, as Izuku didn't want to trade strength for speed, as he loved the fact that he had an equal balance of the two. Izuku is too smart to think that strength alone can win you any fight. You need to have other attributes and bring other things to the table to be considered a pro hero. With that said, Izuku has not only trained his body, but also his mind. He has continued working on his hero journals and practiced the many strategies that he has either learned or created that would benefit his quirk. He would spend long hours just thinking about how he could improve his training regime and get the best possible results before the exams. One time he was even caught muttering to himself in class. Although it was embarrassing, he didn't mind, because in his mind and heart he knew that he needed to have the determination and will of a hero if he is going to achieve his dream. Music end. September 26th, exactly 5 months before the U.A entrance exams. Toshinori got out of his truck and walked towards the beach. It was the halfway mark until the U.A entrance exams, and he needed to assess Midoriya's progress in cleaning the beach and see how much longer it's going to take him and if they need to make any adjustments in the aim to pass. American Dream plan to get the job done quicker. It was currently 4:30 a.m., so Izuku should already be there cleaning up as usual. However, before he took another step forward, Toshinori heard something that made him stop in his tracks. A primal roar was heard throughout the entire park in the early morning as birds scurried and flew away, fearing that such a beastly roar belongs to a predator that is nearby. Toshinori's eyes widened as he looked for the source of the roar until he looked up, and what he saw made him drop his jaw to the ground. On top of the pile of trash was a shirtless Izuku as the sun rose and made the sweat around his body glisten. Over the past 5 months, Izuku grew 2 inches, making his height now 6 feet 1 inch. His overall figure was much more muscular and leaned as his body adjusted to the harsh training protocol Izuku went through. His weights were still on, as they now weighed 10,000 pounds each. The entire beach and the shoreline was completely clean, and not an ounce of trash was anywhere in sight. Izuku has completed his task in half of the time that was expected. Hey, holy crap, kid. You even cleaned outside the area I told you to. Seriously, there's not one speck of trash left on this beach. And with 5 months to spare, you've exceeded my expectations. Holy stinking super crap, Toshinori said as he transformed to his hero form mid-sentence. Izuku started wobbling and fell off the pile of trash that he was on top of on. But before he could hit the ground, All Might caught him in his arms. Excellent work. Izuku looked at All Might with a tired smile. I finished everything. All Might, I did it as fast as I could. Do you think I'm ready now for your quirk? Izuku asked as he panted. Truth to be told, Izuku was exhausted. He spent countless sleepless nights overworking himself trying to clean the trash up as fast as he could. There were days where he didn't even shower or eat because he was so focused on getting the job done as fast as possible because he knew that he needed as much time as he could in order to prepare for the U.A entrance exams coming up in 5 months. However, his determination and the fact that he worked 1,000 times harder than anybody else allowed him to finish cleaning the beach in half of the time that was expected. It was hard, but it was worth it in the end because now he has 5 more months to train. Yeah, you did good, kid. I gotta say I'm impressed. I knew you had it in you, but this is beyond what I thought was possible. Look at this. All Might showed Izuku a picture he took 5 months ago at the beginning of their training. It's you. 5 months ago. Look how far you've come. Such improvement. There's still a long road ahead of you before you can inherit my full power set. But it's starting to look like you can do it. All Might bellowed as he pointed towards the huge pile of trash above them from where Izuku fell. Izuku looked down and raised his fist. All Might, do I deserve this? Are you sure? All Might raised his eyebrows as he looked at Izuku curiously. You've put so much time and energy into helping me. How did I end up so lucky? Izuku said as tears began to escape his eyes. Haha, All Might laughed. Are you really worried about that after all of these months? All Might pat Izuku on the back. It was all your hard work that did this, not mine. Now, for your reward, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku smiled. Yes, sir. All Might plucked a hair from his head. Someone told me this once. There's a difference between being lucky and deserving. One's an accident and the other a reward. Never get the two confused, All Might replied to Izuku as he remembered the words of his deceased predecessor. Take that to heart, young man. This gift, you earned it with your own valued effort. Izuku smiled as he heard All Might's words. He knew what he said was true, and he took great pride in the fact that he did indeed earn his quirk and is worthy to inherit it. But what All Might said next completely made his eyes go wide. Eat this. All Might yelled as he held a strand of hair towards Izuku. Izuku was speechless as he slowly comprehended what exactly the number one hero was saying. To inherit my power, you got to swallow some of my DNA. That's how it works. This isn't exactly how I imagined it. Come on, there's no time. The exam is in 5 months, and we have to get you ready so that you're able to use one for all efficiently. So you'll no doubt make it into U.A. Eat, eat, eat. All Might yelled as Izuku took the strand of hair and forced himself to swallow it, and cringed as he stopped his gag reflex and swallowed as hard as he could feel the strand of hair going down his throat. It should take you about 2 hours for you to digest my DNA. By then, one for all should start taking into an effect. Until then, you should relax and take a breather. I know how hard you have worked these past 5 months. Also take off those weights, as you shouldn't strain your muscles because one for all can hurt your body enough as it is. All Might said as he gave Izuku a water bottle. When Izuku finished the water bottle and took off his weights, he began to feel a surging sensation throughout his body. It's similar to the key energy he uses with his quirk, but it was different. He could feel a lightning ozone go through his veins and a shooting star rushing through space as it gathers energy and power second by second. All Might, I think I can feel one for all. It's growing stronger by the second. Izuku yelled as immediately stopped resting to tell All Might the news. But that should be impossible. It has not even been 5 minutes yet. Surely your body hasn't digested that one strand of hair that fast. Well, you see, one side effect of my quirk is that it exponentially increases my metabolism rate. So food digests faster, and it makes me hungrier than the average person, and it allows me to eat a lot more than the average person also. So your hair has probably digested by now, and I think I'm able to use your quirk now. Izuku explained. He could feel the power get stronger and stronger, adapting to the incredibly strong body. I see. I guess it's convenient for the situation. Are you feeling okay, young Midoriya? You think you could try to use one for all in your current state? All Might asked with concern for his successor. Izuku smirked as he flexed his right arm. I think it wouldn't hurt to give it at least a test run. Well, all right. Don't push yourself too hard, young man. Remember, we got 5 months left to prepare you for the exams, so we've got plenty of time. Right. So how exactly do I activate the quirk? Izuku asked curiously as he can still feel the intoxicating power flowing through him, just waiting to burst out. It's pretty simple, kid. All you have to do is clench your butt cheeks and reach down from the depths of your heart and yell smash. All Might yelled as he demonstrated by punching the air and creating a mini tornado that resulted in a whirlwind. Izuku nodded and looked towards the crystal blue ocean. He concentrated and raised his right arm and clenched his butt cheeks. His arm began to glow as red markings appeared and his biceps bulged as he can feel the power building up in one point. He can also feel his ki in his right arm supporting the power that one for all was giving him. It was so unreal. The power. He has never felt anything like this before. It felt so right and meshed so well with his other quirk that it practically felt like a perfect combination. Izuku looked towards the ocean and yelled with all his might. Smaeawea wash. Izuku sent a thunderous punch towards the sea. The force of the punch was so great that it sent him back a couple of yards. It created winds that were going at 60 miles per hour. The sea was split into two as it created waves that were so high that it seemed that they could touch the heavens. Izuku's punch also created a tornado similar to the one that All Might produced with his Detroit smash against the sludge villain. It wasn't strong enough to completely change the weather like All Might did, but it was still impressive in its own right. Especially since it was Izuku's first try. All Might smirked as he saw the display of power Izuku put on. He was extremely impressed, and Izuku even exceeding his expectations once again. That smash was near the level of All Might's 5% Detroit smash in his prime. All Might walked over to Izuku to see the condition of his arm. He knew what the backlash of using one for all for the first time could be like. He just hoped that he didn't completely break his arm. Wow. I was able to do that much with just one punch. I can't wait to see what I'm able to do when I've mastered this quirk. The power output is so amazing. All Might's jaw dropped to the ground when he saw Izuku standing with no injuries at all, looking completely fine. Young Midoriya, is your arm all right? Do you feel any pain? All Might asked in surprise, as Izuku didn't even look like he was in pain. His arm looked completely normal. Yeah, it feels a little numb, but that's probably mostly from the weights I had on. I guess all my training paid off. My body is able to handle the backlash of One for All with little to no injuries. So does that mean my body is a proper vessel now? Izuku asked All Might as he was stretching to loosen up his muscles. This will make your training a lot easier. And since you've given us a 5-month head start, in that time, we will be focusing on increasing your control and efficiency rate of using One for All. This is so that by the exams you will be used to the effects of One for All, and you won't have to worry about not knowing how to use it. Young Midoriya, are you sure you don't need rest? I know you've been working really hard, so are you sure you can keep training for the rest of the day? All Might knew how important getting into U.A and becoming a hero is to Izuku. He also understood how little time he has to prepare. However, too much of anything can be detrimental to anyone, especially if one were to overwork themselves. The human body had limits after all, so it would be only natural is the young man needed to take a day off to rest and recuperate. No, it's fine. I promise you, All Might, I can keep going. How many times do I have to tell you this? I have to work 1,000 times harder than anyone else if I want to be number one. I don't want to just make it into UA. I want to excel and be the top student of my class. So that's why I'll keep training no matter what, and I won't rest until my job is done. Izuku yelled with vigor. The same red markings of One for All began to appear around both of his arms and legs as he flexed his arms ready to get to work. All Might just smiled. What else could he expect? Hearing those words just gave him the reassurance that he made the right decision in choosing Izuku as his successor to bear One for All. You truly have the spirit of a hero, young man. Then it's settled. These next 5 months, we will train your control of One for All, and we will commence by holding a series of sparring matches between you and me so you can get some combat training. Get ready, young man, because this is where the real training starts. Also, I almost forgot to mention, from now on, refer to me as Toshinori Sensei. For 0.5 months later, 2 weeks until the U.A entrance exams. It's been over 4.5 months since Izuku gained One for All, and the progress he was able to make in such a short amount of time is nothing short of amazing. He is now able to use One for All at 20% and at a very proficient level. Usually, when children awaken their quirks, it's hard for them to use their powers without wasting a lot of energy. That doesn't seem to be the case with Izuku, though. Izuku is so skilled at using his quirk that he's able to fight and launch attacks with little to no backlash to his physical body. When All Might saw the progress that Izuku was making during their sparring matches, practically getting stronger, faster, and better every day, almost scared him. He has never seen someone so young be able to adapt and increase the output of their quirk almost flawlessly. Izuku's key abilities improved as well. He could now sense the energy signature of a person 1,000 miles away and can even lower his own energy to the point where he's almost completely unnoticeable. During these 4 months, Izuku has had some weird dreams. His dreams would always involve either a man with spiky black hair and an orange outfit or a shorter man with long, upright, spiky hair with some sort of armor on. In these dreams, he saw various things. He saw many fights and the encounters that those two had in their lives, and even some techniques that Izuku learned. One technique that Izuku was able to learn was the Kamehameha and the Galit gun used by the man with the orange outfit and the man with the blue armor, respectively. Izuku felt like he should know who those two are, but he just couldn't quite put his finger on it. Maybe it was another side effect of his quirk. Whatever the case, they were very helpful to him in his training. It allowed him to learn many fighting techniques that he could use during his sparring matches with All Might. Granted, he was never able to win against the number one hero. He just had much more experience than him. However, Izuku was able to land some hits on him and even catch him off guard a couple times and actually almost managed to beat him one time if it wasn't for that damned Oklahoma smash that sent poor Izuku flying away towards the sky. All Might went really hard on him during those spars, And he even complimented on Izuku's fighting style, saying if he had not had more raw power and hero experience than Izuku, he probably would have beat him. During those sparring matches, All Might made sure to have Izuku wear his training weights at all times. He increased the weight to 25,000 pounds on each limb. His rationale for such harsh training conditions is that if Izuku is able to keep up with somebody as fast as All Might with 100,000 pounds on his body, then he should have no problem outperforming any other person during the exams physically. This day and age, too many people rely solely on their quirk to do all the hard work, when in reality, they have forgotten that just how powerful humans can become with their physical bodies alone. And thanks to Izuku's quirk, his physical abilities seem to have skyrocketed. This is one edge that Izuku will have over any other applicant, as both Izuku and All Might knew for a fact that no other person his age trains like Izuku does. Detroit Smash. Instantly, the waves of the Dagobah Municipal Beach were raised to seemingly impossible levels. The ocean rumbled as if a tempest was taking place, but the weather remained the same. Not strong enough. Toshinori-sensei is able to change the entire weather with a single Detroit Smash almost effortlessly. Mine is pretty good, but it still lacks the extra force and volume that Toshinori-sensei's smashes have. Guess I'll have to keep practicing until I get to that level, Izuku said to himself as he stood on the beach by himself. He is currently shirtless as he was sweating from training the entire day. All Might isn't there because this is one of the days when Izuku is supposed to be taking a day off. But who was he kidding? Izuku doesn't know the definition of a day off. Izuku now stood at 6 feet 2 inches as he was able to grow 1 more inch during the past couple of months training with All Might. Izuku guessed that the reason he was growing so fast was because of the addition of One for All. His body adapted since the bigger and stronger his body is, the more effective his usage of One for All can be. He now had a defined six-pack, which is a sign of evidence of all the hard training he has done these past 9.5 months. Well, at least it's better than before 2 months ago. Flashback to 2.5 months ago. Damn it, yelled a frustrated Izuku. He just finished a sparring session with All Might and was currently taking a 5-minute break. Why you seem so troubled, my boy? You have made excellent progress. At this point, Izuku has already gained access to 10% of One for All. He is able to activate it in all 4 limbs and fight on par with All Might's 10%. It's just that I feel that there's a way to use One for All a lot easier and more efficiently like you, Toshinori-sensei. When you use One for All, it's not just in your arms and legs, but your whole body, and you're able to use it with much more versatility. I want to be able to use it like that as well, but for some reason, I can only activate it in my limbs. Right when he said those words, Izuku widened his eyes as a light bulb lit up in his head. Wait a minute, that's it, Izuku exclaimed as he jumped up and confused All Might. All this time, I've been thinking of One for All as sort of like a switch, where I turn on and off whenever I use its power, as if it's an external weapon, sort of like a gun or sword. However, I've got it all wrong. One for All isn't just some disposable weapon. It's a part of me. It's connected to my very core and soar. It's the power that will unite the world and smash all evil into its place. I am One for All. Izuku closed his fists and began to power up and use One for All. Red markings immediately appeared on his arms and legs. Then it started to spread to his forearm, then to his hands, then to his feet, and upwards to his chest and shoulders. Come on, focus and concentrate, Izuku said loudly and grit his teeth as he put in his absolute best effort. The red markings then rose up to his neck, cheeks, and ears. Then it finally reached to his eyes and head as his eyes turned into a brighter and glowing shade of green. His hair rose a little as his green spikes became a little more defined. After that, the unique red markings completely disappeared, and in its place came a sparking green lighting coated with a reddish aura that produced an ozone scent. Izuku smirked. I did it. I can use the power of One for All throughout my whole body now. It feels amazing. All Might smiled in pure pride. He was so proud of how far Izuku was progressing in such little time. He will even admit that he's doing better than when he himself got One for All for the first time. All Might cracked his knuckles. You ready for another round? Izuku just grinned and charged full speed towards All Might and yelled, "One for all! Full cowl! Back to the present!" Izuku smiled at the memory. Ever since that day, he has practiced using full cowl nonstop, doing his best to increase his control as much as possible for the exams. Now he had only 2 weeks left, and he wanted to be prepared for anything Udai may throw at him. However, he also knew that if he pushed himself way too hard, it could start to have negative effects on his overall health. Izuku is smart enough to know that any addiction, even an addiction to training, is bad for you. But he just can't help himself. He just loves to train and fight. It fills him with excitement and joy that he can't really explain. It's almost like some sort of primal nature. Maybe it's because now he has a quirk. He has never experienced the joy in having his own power to develop and train. But it feels like something else. Wow, I have never seen someone pay so much attention to detail for their own quirk. Izuku's eyes widened as he heard a sweet feminine voice behind him. He thought he was alone on the beach. He must have been so preoccupied with his training and own thoughts that he didn't notice their energy signature in close proximity to him. Izuku turned around and was shocked to see what seemed to be a teenage girl his age with his hero journal number 14 in her hands as she read with awe. However, the fact that there was a girl reading his journal wasn't what shocked him, but it was the girl herself. Standing at a height of about 5 feet 8 inches, she has black hair with a long, spiky ponytail and gray eyes. Her face is nothing short of beautiful. She has a mature physique for her age and a curvaceous figure that most women would kill for. She has bangs on the right side of her face, and she also has a large bust. Izuku had to admit, she's one of the most gorgeous females he has ever seen. "Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. What brings a beautiful young lady like yourself to this beach?" Izuku asked as he put back on a green tank top he was wearing earlier, feeling embarrassed being shirtless around such a pretty girl. The girl blushed after hearing that kind of compliment from a boy who she will admit is handsome. "I could say the same to you. I just wanted to find a good spot to relax and ease my thoughts. And what do you know? I find a beautiful beach that suits perfectly," she said as she turned a page in Izuku's journal. "My name is Momo Yaoyorozu, by the way. And what is a handsome hunk like you doing out here alone?" she asked with a smirk as she complimented Izuku back. Now, it was Izuku's turn to blush. "My name is Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you, Yaoyorozu-chan. As to what I'm doing here, well, I'm just training to prepare for the U.A entrance exams in 2 weeks. I really want to excel above my peers and get in, and I know it's going to be really difficult. So that means I can't slack off, and I have to continue training diligently." Izuku answered proudly with a big smile on his face. "Cute smile," Momo said in her head as she smiled in awe of Izuku's will and determination. "Well, then if you make it in, then we'll be seeing more of each other. Because I got accepted into U.A through recommendation." "Whoa, seriously? You were able to get into the #1 hero course solely through recommendation. That must mean your skill set and quirk is amazing enough to accomplish such a feat. Wow, congratulations, you earned it," Izuku said, impressed. Momo was speechless to say the least. She expected him to say how lucky she was or that she got in the easy way. But in reality, Izuku said the opposite, which she really appreciated since she deals with self-confidence issues and sometimes doubts her abilities as a hero. So hearing Izuku's words was a relief to her that she needed. "Thank you very much, Midoriya-san. That really means a lot to me," Momo said as her cheeks became a little red. "Don't mention it. And you can call me Izuku. You don't have to be so formal," Izuku said as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "Okay, then if I can call you Izuku, then you should be able to call me Momo. It's only fair, right?" "Sure, no problem, Momo-chan," Izuku said as his eyes widened. "Oh yeah, I almost forgot to ask. What is your quirk? It must be really powerful to allow you get accepted into U.A through recommendation alone," Izuku asked curiously as he was now really interested in Momo's quirk, being the nerd that he is. "My quirk is called creation. It allows me to create any inorganic object, as long as I understand the atomic makeup of said object. The only drawback is that creating objects require lipids as fuel, and my skin needs to expose so I can create something. Momo demonstrated by holding out her hand as a baseball appeared out of her skin. That is so cool. That makes your quirk adaptable to virtually any situation. It's also very useful in daily life as well. No wonder you were able to get accepted into U.A through recommendation alone. You're really amazing, Momo-chan, Izuku said as he truly was impressed by the greatness of Momo's creation quirk. Momo's face began to get red once again as she received another kind and truthful compliment from the ninth holder of One for All. All her life, she thought her quirk as not so great as it wasn't exactly an offensive juggernaut. However, this handsome boy she just met said that her quirk is amazing and that she is deserving of being accepted into UA. It made her heart skip a beat seeing the warm and kind nature that the boy had. She also couldn't find any deceit in his eyes or face since he was being 100% truthful. So what exactly can you do with you, Quirk, Izuku-kun? Momo was now the one curious and interested. My quirk is a physical enhancement type. I'm able to increase my strength, speed, and durability to superhuman levels and deal massive damage. Look, I'll show you. Now, it was Izuku's turn to demonstrate. The scent of ozone invaded Momo's nostrils as Izuku powered up to 5% One for All. Full cowl and green sparkling lightning surrounded his body. Momo stood in awe at the pure raw power that Izuku was emitting. Izuku turned towards the sea. You should take a couple steps back. Izuku warned as Momo listened to what he said and moved back. Izuku readied his fist and yelled, "Detroit Smash!" Just like before, the ocean waves rose to an unbelievable height as a mini tornado was created, causing the whole beach to slightly rumble. Momo's eyes widened and gasped. Such power! I've never seen anything like it. It's comparable to All Might. Izuku rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Oh, you're being too kind. I'm nowhere near All Might's level. Izuku blushed at the praise. However, that blow was using One for All only. He could have used Ki to throw an even bigger smash, but Izuku wasn't one to boast. Oh, stop being modest. It's true. I haven't seen a quirk like yours before. You can be a real powerhouse as a hero. Momo then looked at her phone to see a message from her father, telling her to come home, since it was getting late. The sun was already starting to set. I'm sorry, Izuku, but I have to head home. It's getting late, and my parents don't think it's safe for me to be out during dark. Momo said, disappointed at the fact that she had to leave. That's no problem. I can take you home if you want. Just tell me the address. Izuku offered as he started floating above the ground and getting ready to take off. Hold on a minute. You can fly too? That's incredible, Izuku-kun. I don't mind since I want to see how it is to fly. Let's get going then. Izuku proceeded to pick up Momo bridal style and flew off to Momo's address. During the whole ride, Momo had a huge blush on her face. She could feel Izuku's rock-hard abs through his shirt. Momo looked down at the beautiful city and saw the beautiful sunset keeping her in awe. She looked up to see Izuku's smiling face. She felt secure, safe, and protected in his arms. She somehow knew that he wouldn't drop her or let anything bad happen to her. As she thought of this, it made the blush on her face darken and caused her heart rate to increase. We're here, Izuku said as he descended to the ground. In front of them was a huge, expensive mansion with a large front yard. Did I make a wrong turn? Izuku asked. No, this is the place. Holy crap, she is stinking rich. Izuku yelled in his mind as he didn't expect Momo to come from such a financial background. Before I go, let's exchange phone numbers so we can keep in touch, Momo said as she put her phone number in Izuku's phone and vice versa. Goodbye, Izuku. I'll text or call you later. Good luck in the exams, Momo shouted right before she entered her house. Izuku waved and flew to the air towards his house. While he was in the air, he realized something. I talked to a girl. I even got her number, and she's smoking hot too. February 26th, the morning of the U.A entrance exams. The sun rose. The ocean waves moved. The seagulls flew in the sky. It was a peaceful sight this morning at the Dagoba Municipal Beach. It was quiet. The only sounds that could be heard were the sounds of nature. When the public heard that the once dumpster of a beach returned to its original alluring and prepossessing state, People wondered just how it was cleaned up and by whom. Citizens hypothesized that maybe a diligent hero cleaned it up, or maybe some sort of volunteer for community service. But when they tried to think which hero could have done such a feat, nobody came to mind. All of the possible candidates were just too busy to have the time to clean up some beach with no particular reward in return. However, there were rumors being spread around about some civilians passing by and witnessing a skinny, lanky, blonde-haired man yelling at a tall, muscular teenager with green hair as he picked up various types of trash and disposed of them at an inhuman rate. Some even proclaimed that they still saw the same teenager training and practicing his quirk. Every time someone would try to go near him and question him regarding the state of the beach, he would almost instantaneously disappear out of their sight, as if he were never there in the first place. Who were those two individuals? And were they the ones responsible for returning the beach to its true glory? The world may never know. Nonetheless, today was a beautiful day. Well, it may seem like that on the surface, but in reality, this day is going to be a very significant and important day. The reason for this is that this is the day of this year's U.A entrance exams. U.S entrance exams are the hardest to pass of any high school with a hero course. Only 3 in 100 applicants pass every year. For young ones aspiring to be heroes, it is an opportunity to prove themselves and show they have what it takes to be a hero. However, it is easier said than done because there are numerous applicants with only so little seats. The events of today will determine the future generation of heroes. A red truck pulled up on the parking lot of the beach. The driver of said truck, none other than Toshinori Yagi, the #1 hero himself. He was wearing a long black coat. The reason he was here is because he texted Izuku last night telling him to meet him at the beach just before the exams. Toshinori walked on the sand and looked around for his young protege. His eyes was finally able to lock onto him. Izuku was floating a few meters above the ocean in a lotus position. His eyes are closed as he was meditating deeply. The milky white aura of his ki would be seen as the ocean currents reacted to the power as they moved in various directions. Alongside his ki was the green lightning aura of One for All. Izuku is currently using 20%. He sensed Toshinori's presence, but he didn't let it stop his flow. His two auras came close to touching as they were nearing each other in the middle of Izuku's body. The two quirks were close to merging with each other. But right before that can happen, the auras completely disappeared with Izuku opening his eyes soon after. Damn it, I messed up again, Izuku thought with a frustrated and disappointed facial expression. Izuku's frustration was caused by the fact that he was unable to combine his One for All, full cowl mode with his ki throughout his whole body and use the two powers simultaneously. He is able to use the two only in certain concentrated points of his body. For his example, he is able to infuse One for All energy into ki blasts and fire them from his hands or feet to increase the power output. Or he could also infuse ki into an attack like a Detroit Smash and increase the punch's destructive capability. But he isn't able to combine the two all around throughout his body like full cowl. And he really wanted to achieve a mode like that. The reason being that when he combined the two quirks into one attack, it would cost him a decent amount of his stamina and limited his versatility, control, and efficiency. Similar to how it was when he used One for All before he had full cowl. This was something Izuku has been trying to succeed in for the past couple of weeks now. But no matter how hard he concentrated, focused, or tried, it all ended in the same result. Both of his quirks shutting off, and each time making him feel more annoyed. Izuku tried to use a similar strategy to unlock One for All, full cowl. But for some reason, this was just a lot more difficult than he expected. You struck another dead end, huh? Toshinori said to his successor, knowing full well that he just had another failed attempt in combining his quirks. Izuku told Toshinori of his shortcomings with combining the two powers. Toshinori was intrigued at the idea and thought it was actually a very interesting assessment. In theory, if he managed to use One for All and ki simultaneously, it would make him stronger many times over. But to be able to control two quirks with such high levels of raw power was no easy feat. It took Tashinori years until he fully mastered One for All, and even then, it still cost him a considerable amount of stamina to maintain. So he could only imagine how hard it was for Izuku to control both One for All and his ki. It had to be strenuous, especially for Izuku, who has only had his quirk for 10 months. I don't know what's the problem, Tashinori-sensei. I've tried everything I could, but I keep on coming up short. There has to be something missing, but I just don't know what. Izuku flew back to the sand and stretched his legs out. They were a little stiff from the intense and long meditation session. Tashinori sighed. He understood Izuku's frustration, but there are other important matters at hand. The exams are going to begin in about 2 hours, and it would not serve well for Izuku if he is distracted and unfocused. It could cost him dearly if he is not careful, and he could not afford to be off his game. Not today. So to cheer him up, Tashinori transformed. Worry not, young Midoriya. I understand your frustration and concern, but maybe you could try again later. As for right now, you've got bigger fish to fry. The exams are going to commence soon, and it would do no good if you were distracted. You have to bring your A game. This is what you have been training so hard for. You said you want to excel above your peers and become the #1 hero and the next symbol of peace, right? Are you willing to throw all of that away just because of a failed attempt at controlling your quirk, which you've only had for 10 months now? Izuku tightened his fists. He knew that what his sensei is saying is 100% true. He shouldn't let something like that discourage him. Of course, there are things in life he won't succeed in at his first try. Nobody is perfect. He's a human, for crying out loud. Or is he? You're absolutely right, Tashinori-sensei. I didn't come this far to only come this far. All of the hard work I've done these past 10 months will be all for naught if I let this one little thing get to my head. Don't worry about me. I will pass the UDA entrance exams. And not only will I pass and get accepted to the #1 hero course, but I will be the #1 applicant and outperform anyone else. And that is because I will be the #1 hero. Izuku exclaimed as he had a cocky smile, full of unmatched confidence that actually surprised All Might, as he never heard Izuku be so sure of himself. Usually, he would be very modest, timid, and shy. But it seems that All Might successfully brought the young man's spirits up to where they need to be. I would expect nothing less from you, my boy. That drive and will to win is one of the many reasons why you are deserving to be the rightful 9th holder of One for All. I like the confidence, Izuku Midoriya. Let it fuel you to do what you do best, and that is make people's jaw drop. Always remember that I am proud of you, and no matter what may happen in the exams, just know that I take pride in calling you my successor. All Might said honestly, as he truly is happy that he met Izuku. Without him, he may never have found the right successor to pass on One for All. But everything happens for a reason, and All Might had no doubt in his mind, heart, and soul that Izuku is destined to be a hero. Pride, huh? Why does that word make me feel so strong and motivated? Izuku questioned in his mind, but he smiled and replied with, and always remember, Tashinori-sensei, that I feel pride in bearing One for All, and that you have chosen me to take your mantle as the next symbol of peace. I promise you that I won't let you down, and I will use the power you have given me to smash any obstacle in my way. Izuku yelled with life as he lifted his right fist that was sparking with green lightning. All Might just smiled. He loves his kid. All Might then checked the time on his phone and saw that the exams are only about an hour and a half away from starting. You should go back home and get ready. The exams will start in an hour and a half. For this special occasion, I'm going to allow you to take off your training weights. I want you to perform at your absolute best and be the #1 applicant. So feel free to go all out if it is necessary to do so. But even if you do, as well we're hoping for you to do, I don't want you to get cocky and slack off on your training. That's how you get rusty and sluggish. Understood, All Might said with a stern and strict tone. He may be the hero who always has a smile on his face, but that doesn't mean he can't toughen up and get serious when he has to. Izuku smiled and rolled his eyes. He was used to it anyway. After being forced to carry around 50 tons on his limbs 24/7 for several months, and with that same weight on him, Having to spar with a #1 hero practically every day who has the strength to change the weather with a single punch, it didn't really bother or affect him anymore. On the contrary, he is actually grateful All Might is strict in that sense. He would expect nothing less from a #1 hero, and if he himself wants to be the next symbol of peace, he's going to have standards to uphold. Yeah, I know. You slack off on your training, and the next thing you know, you're out of shape with man boobs. Izuku replied as he gathered his belongings. Exactly. That's my successor. Keep working harder than anyone else, and no one else will be on your level. All Might said as laughed and pointed his finger up towards the sky. Well, I'll talk to you later, Toshinori-sensei. I'll let you know how it all went after the exams finish. See you later, and don't overexert yourself fighting villains. Izuku said right before he blasted off toward the sky. All Might stood there for a second as his eyes followed Izuku's milky white key trail he left in the sky, flying until he was completely out of sight. Show them what you're made of, kid. I'll be watching you and supporting you every step of the way. Man, I haven't felt this loose and light for a while, Izuku said as he walked toward the building. He was dressed in his middle school uniform with his yellow backpack on. When he went back to his house, he took off his training weights and immediately felt an extreme amount of looseness and relief. It was so much easier for him to move around, and he realized why All Might made him wear the weights 24/7. The results were a dramatic increase in dexterity and agility. Immense amounts of raw strength and power means nothing if you can't move as fast or faster than your opponent. All Might wanted to make sure that Izuku would have practically all physical advantages over all of the other applicants. It just made Izuku more grateful for how much All Might has changed his life. Earlier, he received a text from Momo wishing him good luck. Izuku replied with a thanks as his mother also wished him luck in the exams. Izuku is extremely happy that he has people supporting him to succeed. It just made him a lot more motivated. He made a promise to himself that he will make into a no matter what. Izuku finally reached the entrance to UA. Izuku sensed a familiar energy signature walking behind him. He smiled and turned around, knowing exactly who it was. Good morning, Kakin. Are you ready for the exams? Izuku asked cheerfully. Over the past 10 months, Izuku got over his fear of Bakugo. It isn't necessarily because Izuku thinks he's now stronger than him. It's because Izuku realized that now he has power. His own power. Power that he will use to become a hero. And in reality, the same could be said for Bakugo. Izuku sees Bakugo as his equal, not as somebody superior to him. Once upon a time, he may have thought of Bakugo that way, and some could say he even had an inferiority complex. But not anymore. Izuku now has the confidence and pride in himself needed to not have to fear his former childhood bully anymore. They were both just two kids aspiring to be heroes. And really, Izuku just wanted to be friends, not enemies. Katsuki Bakugo looked at Izuku, up and down, sizing him up. You've gotten taller, Deku. It was funny seeing as how Bakugo always figuratively looked down at Izuku for not having a quirk, labeling him worthless and good for nothing. It's how he came up with the name Deku. However now, Bakugo has to literally look up to Izuku whenever he spoke to him because he was about 7 inches shorter than him now. That fact alone annoyed Bakugo to almost no end. Just how in hell did he get so much taller, damn it? Is his quirk like a miniature version of MT Ladies or something? It's good to see you too, Izuku replied sarcastically as he laughed at Bakugo's behavior. Izuku knew that Bakugo hated the fact that Izuku now stood taller than him. He would occasionally tease the explosive quirk user that now Izuku had to look down at him. Every time he mentioned this, Bakugo would usually yell and curse at him, saying that he will set Izuku on fire. Izuku would always respond with, "If you can reach me." It would piss him off even more, and Bakugo's reactions will always cause Izuku to start cracking up. Katsuki merely scoffed. Whatever, just don't you dare even thinking about trying to get in my way, Deku. I'll show you and everyone else why I'm #1, and that anyone else is just an extra. After his little proclamation, Bakugo went inside as he left Izuku standing there. Other people who were also applying for you did. They recognized Bakugo as a student in middle school who was a hostage of the sludge villain 10 months ago. They were amazed that someone his age could have survived such an attack. Some things just never change, Hakaken, Izuku said in his mind. But I'm not defenseless anymore. I have to remember all of the work I put in. Thanks to Tashinori-sensei, I'm actually going to be a hero. Izuku began walking, but then he accidentally tripped on his own feet. Or I'll just die. Izuku closed his and waited to feel the pain coming from his face hitting the pavement, but for some reason it never came. Being confused, Izuku opened his eyes to see himself actually floating off of the ground. But he didn't activate his ki, though. So how in the world was he in midair, defying the laws of gravity? Are you okay? Izuku heard a sweet and high-pitched voice beside him. He tried to look towards to where the sound of the voice was coming from, but he was stuck in midair and couldn't move properly. So he started panicking and flailing his arms around as he tried to regain his balance. The same voice laughed as said person helped Izuku up back to his feet. Izuku immediately calmed down as he felt gravity return to his body. Thus he again had control over his body. I stopped you with my quirk. I'm sorry I didn't ask you first, but I figured you wouldn't mind me catching you. I don't think you would have enjoyed kissing concrete. Izuku was able to get a good look at his savior. She is a girl standing at a height of about 5 feet 4 inches. She is a normal-weighted girl. She has fair skin, big round brown eyes, and shoulder-length brown hair, which sports 2 long locks beside her face and a short bob at the back. She also has little pads on the top of each of her fingers, similar to the pads on an animal's paws. She was currently wearing a brown coat, with a pink scarf and a black book bag. She also had 2 permanent pink blush marks on each cheek. Izuku's face began to flush a little. He had to admit, the girl in front of him is highly cute and attractive. And the fact that she saved him from tripping over himself also made him a little embarrassed. But he did his best to keep his cool. No, it's fine. You don't have to apologize for anything. Thank you for preventing me from falling on my face. It would have been a terrible omen. Izuku responded as he sheepishly smiled and rubbed the back of his head out of habit. Well then, you're welcome. It happens when you get really nervous, and sometimes we may trip and fall on the way. Well, guess I'll see you inside. Bye. The girl proceeded to enter the building. Izuku stood there as he just processed what just happened. Holy crap, that's the second girl I just talked to recently. It is true. Excluding his mother, Izuku doesn't have much communication or interaction with the opposite sex. It was not until he met Momo that he actually started to have a little more socialization with females. After so many years as being deemed a social outcast, Izuku got used to being pretty much antisocial. He really doesn't have any friends aside from Momo, who he just met 2 weeks ago, and if you really want to go there, you could count Bakugo, but that's really it. As a result of being deprived of friends, he doesn't have any experience with girls, and if a girl were to talk to him, he would almost freeze up, especially if the girl is as attractive as Momo or the brunette that saved him. It also doesn't help that Izuku has been fatherless for pretty much his whole childhood up until now. A father would be needed for teenage problems like this. But as fate would have it, Izuku's father can't be around. Apparently, he works abroad and has a full schedule where he can't even come to visit for like 1 day. However, he makes sure to support Izuku and his mother financially. But at what cost? Izuku is not even sure. His father was aware that he was quirkless. Izuku shook his head as he cleared those thoughts out of his head. I have to focus. I can't let such trivial things distract. I have an exam to take that could dictate my future as a pro hero. And with that last thought, Izuku went inside the building. Hero Course Entrance Exam Orientation. The written exam was a breeze. Izuku felt full confidence that he aced it. All those hours spent on his hero journals weren't for nothing. During his 10-month training, Izuku made sure to focus on his studies as well. When he wasn't training or cleaning up trash, what do you think he was doing? What good is godly strength if there isn't an intelligent mind to understand how to use it? When Izuku said he was going to excel above all other applicants, he didn't just mean physically, but mentally as well. Izuku understood that mental strength is just as, if not more, important as physical strength was. I guess being a nerd and fanboy helped me out in the long run. Izuku muttered to himself as he found his assigned seat in the auditorium. He saw that the person adjacent to his right was none other than Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku concluded that it must be because they were from the same middle school. As the last few people entered, the lights turned out, and out in center stage was none other than the voice hero, Present Mic, also known as Hisashi Yamada. Hisashi is a tall, slender man with long, spiky blonde hair and a small mustache. He wears a pair of headphones with the word Hage written on the headband and a pair of sunglasses. When his eyes are visible, they appear as concentric circles. He is almost always seen with a large smile on his face. Present Mic's hero costume consists of a black jacket with an upturned collar complete with studs. He sports a tan, studded shoulder pads, black pants with a red studded belt, black boots, and black fingerless gloves. His neck is completely covered by a directional speaker. What's up, UData candidates? Thanks for tuning in to me, your school DJ. Come on, and let me hear ya. Present Mic shouted to only receive silence as a response. Keeping it mellow, huh? That's fine. I'll skip straight to the main show. Let's talk about how this practical exam is going to go down okay. Are you ready? Again, silence. Oh my goodness, it's the voice hero Present Mic. So cool. I listen to his radio show every day of the week. It's so crazy nuts that all of the UData teachers are pro heroes. Izuku, however, was nerding out as usual as he was thrilled for the fact that if and when he gets into UData, he will have the opportunity to meet all of his favorite heroes in person. Will you shut up? Bakugo growled in annoyance. Knowing Izuku as well as he does, this pretty much is an everyday occurrence, and it will always drive him bonkers. Seriously, could he stop fanboying for 5 minutes? Like your application says, today you rocking boys and girls will be out there conducting 10-minute mock battles in super hip urban settings. After I drop the mic here, you'll head to your specified battle center. Sound good? For the third consecutive time, Present Mic was responded back with silence. Wow, tough crowd today. It must be because of the pressure and anxiousness that comes with these types of tests. I see. They're splitting us up so that we can't work with any of our friends, Bakugo said as Izuku looked at his and Bakugo's cards to see that they were in fact assigned to different battle centers. Izuku's card says Battle Center B, while Bakugo's card read Battle Center A. Yeah, you're right. Our examining numbers are one after the other, but we are assigned a different battle center. Izuku replied as he took a peek at Bakugo's card. Get your eyes off my card. Damn, I was really looking forward to crushing you. Izuku just smiled and shrugged. Of course you were. Why would I expect anything less from you? Okay. Let's check out your targets. There are 3 types of faux villains in every battle center. You'll earn points based on their level of difficulty, so you better choose wisely. The goal in this trial is to use your quirk to raise your score by immobilizing the faux villains. But check it. Attacking other examinees and any other unheroic actions are strictly prohibited. May I ask a question? One examinee asked. Okay. Present Mic pointed towards the examinee as a spotlight was put on him. On the printout, there are 4 types of villains. If that is a misprint, then UA, the most prominent school in Japan, should be ashamed of that foolish mistake. We examinees are here in this place because we wish to be molded into exemplary heroes. The person who said that is a tall, 179 cm/5 foot 10 inch and muscular young man. He has black hair and wears rectangular half-rim glasses, which go with his serious attitude. His eyes are also somewhat rectangular, as is his jaw. He turned around and pointed towards Izuku. In addition, you over there with the curly and spiky hair, you've been muttering this whole time. It's distracting. If you're here on a pleasure trip, then you should leave immediately. Izuku covered his mouth in embarrassment. I'm sorry, he muttered. Everybody other examinee present began to chuckle and snicker. Okay. Examinee number 7111. Thanks for the great message. The 4th type of villain is worth 0 points. That guy's an obstacle, so to speak. There's one in every battle center. It's an obstacle that will go crazy in narrow spaces. It's not impossible to defeat, but there's no reason to defeat it either. I recommend that you listeners try to avoid it. Present Mike said, finishing his explanation of the fourth villain. Thank you very much. Please excuse the interruption. The serious kid sat back down. I see. It's like the obstacles you avoid in video games, huh? The whole thing is like a video game, said other examinees in the auditorium as they absorbed the information they just learned about the upcoming practical exam. That's all from me. Finally, I'll give you listeners a present our school motto. The hero Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "A true hero is someone who overcomes life's misfortunes. Go beyond. Plus ultra. Now everyone, good luck suffering." UA High School Hero Course Entrance Exam Battle Center B. The bus arrived at the battle center, and Izuku was immediately mesmerized. The setting for the practical exam is a giant mock city with many tall buildings and structures. It just goes to show how top-notch of a school UA is. To be able to afford to have access to all of these building sites is incredible. And this is only for the entrance exam. Imagine what kinds of things actual students get to do in hero training. It just made Izuku all the more motivated to ace this test. As soon as Izuku stepped out, he took a deep breath. He is wearing his green training tracksuit. He put 10 whole months of grueling and strenuous work into this same attire when he was training under All Might. So, Izuku thought it was only fitting to make sure that hard work didn't go to waste by wearing the same garb that got him there in the first place. A good luck measure, to put it simply. It's time to do it. It's time to give everything I got from my training with Tashinori-sensei these past 10 months. I will become the hero I always dreamed of being. Izuku said in his head as he began shaking. Why am I shaking? I know I'm not nervous because I know I have full confidence in my abilities, and so does Tashinori-sensei. Wait a minute, this shaking. It isn't from anxiety, it's from excitement. It's true. For some reason, Izuku couldn't explain it, but the idea of going out and fighting robots and showing the world what you're capable of. The whole concept just filled Izuku with a sudden urge to just rush out and destroy everything in his path. This violent nature, it feels similar to the primal nature inside his core that he felt when fighting the sludge villain. It was so bizarre. It's almost like it was embedded in his DNA, as if he was born for the sole reason of fighting. Whatever it was, Izuku couldn't help but admit that he liked it. The rush of excitement. He can feel it fueling him, preparing him for the battle that's to come in a few moments. His patience was running thin. He just wanted to start right now and Detroit smash every single robot that dared come in his path. Mock battles. Izuku muttered to himself as he looked around at his competition. Everybody seems to be confident. They even have equipment to go with their quirks. Izuku kept on wandering his eyes until he saw a specific person. Oh, it's the person I met at the school gates. The nice person. She was assigned to the same battle center. Oh yeah, I have to thank her for earlier. Izuku began to walk towards the girl's direction until he felt a hand on his left shoulder stop him right in his tracks. Izuku turned his head to see it is the same kid with glasses that called him out for his muttering earlier. He's here too. Izuku thought embarrassingly as he hadn't forgotten what transpired in the auditorium not even 30 minutes ago. That girl appears to be trying to focus. What are you doing here? Are you taking the entrance exam to interfere with everyone else? The boy asked with a stern voice with a stern glare that put Izuku on edge. Izuku jumped and began to flail his arms around. And no, of course not. That guy's the one who was about to trip in front of the school gates, right? The one who winced after being called out. He may seem like a tough competitor given his height and extreme muscular figure, but he seems to be a nervous wreck. At the very least, we have one less rival to worry about, huh? Lucky for us. All of the other examinees who saw the interaction between the two said simultaneously as they didn't see Izuku as a threat. I feel like the others think they lucked out, because I'm here, huh? Yeah, I guess my nervous stuttering and muttering may give off that kind of impression. I may have mostly gotten rid of my self-confidence issues, but I still need to work on my nervousness and stuttering and muttering. No wonder why I have social issues. Izuku thought in his head as he felt a smile to creep on his face. But I could use this to my advantage. They already wrote me off as a non-threat. So now, I have the element of surprise in my arsenal. So they think I'm nothing to worry about, huh? Okay then, let me show them a portion of what I can do. The familiar scent of ozone filled the air as Izuku's body began to emit green, sparking lighting, which immediately caught everyone's attention as they didn't expect for Izuku to activate his quirk before the practical officially began. I'll start with 5%, Izuku mentally said as the green lightning became slightly bigger as he went from 1% to 5% one for all. Full cowl. Everybody was so immersed into Izuku's light show display, questioning whether he had some sort of electrical quirk, that they didn't notice Present Mike above them. Okay, start. Present Mike shouted. Everybody stood there confused as they failed to process what was going on. What's wrong? There are no countdowns in real fights. Run, run. The die has been cast, you know. Look, there's already one examinee who's way ahead of all of you. The examinees looked ahead shocked to see Izuku already running and jumping over buildings as he already found robots to destroy. Whoa, he's so fast. He was right next to me, and yet I didn't even notice when he moved. The boy with the glasses said as he and the rest of the examinees, who were still shocked at Izuku's pure speed, raced ahead to begin the practical exam. Meanwhile, with Izuku, as he was running down a street, a robot came in front of him and cut him. Izuku stopped and grinned. So you're the one-pointer. Target acquired. I will kill you, the one-pointer said as it charged straight at Izuku. Bad mistake, Izuku said as he flicked his finger towards the robot. Delaware smash. The force of the finger flick was so potent that it was able to create a sharp gust of wind that completely obliterated the robot in half and barely left any scrap metals left. Really, that's it? That was barely even a warm-up. If the rest of the robots are like this, then this test will be a breeze, Izuku exclaimed as he began running and leaping looking for more victims. At the top of a building, Izuku saw a whole pack of 10 two-pointers, waiting for a fellow examinee and to catch them off guard. Izuku saw this as another opportunity and leaped high above the building and yelled, Texas Smash! Izuku brought his fist towards the floor of the roof, and it created a shockwave that reduced all 10 of the robots to absolute scrap metal. So that's 20 points plus the one-pointer is 21 points. Yosh, I'm kind of getting the hang of this, Izuku said cheerfully as he jumped off the roof and landed on the ground. There, he found 5 three-pointers and 3 two-pointers already waiting for him. They must have heard the shockwave of his Texas Smash and began looking for him. The faux villains circled Izuku as they seemed to be planning to jump him and attack him all at once. Izuku realized this and just smirked. Come on, bring it on. Get your best shot. After hearing this, the robots charged all at once hoping to corner him and end his life right then and there. You fell for the bait. Right as the robots were inches away from capturing Izuku, he began to spin around at overwhelming speeds. Oklahoma Smash. The result was a whirlwind that immediately sent the robots flying as they were completely destroyed by Izuku's smash, just like their kin before them. I've been dying to test that move out ever since Tashinori-sensei used it on me during that spar one day, Izuku said as once again commenced to run and count his points. Okay, so that's 35 points now, if I did the math correctly. Man, these robots don't seem to be a challenge at all. That's probably because these were meant for untrained teenagers with subpar quirks to be able to beat them, not for someone who trained directly under the #1 hero himself and inherited his awesome quirk. Izuku concluded as found another pack of 5 three-pointer robots who were coming directly to him. Let's try this, Izuku yelled as he fired 5 yellow key blasts at each of the three-pointers with deadly precision. The yellow blasts melted through the metal and vaporized their circuits as they began to malfunction and fall to the ground, completely dying out. Man, I'm having a field day out here. Meanwhile, in the judge's room, in this practical exam, the examinees have not been informed of the number of villains or their locations. They have a limited amount of time in a vast area. They have to draw the villains out from there. It was a dark room with many monitors showing each of the examinees and how they are conducting in the practical exam. There were UA staff members sitting in chairs as they assess the performance of the examinees and how they decide to adapt to the conditions that were just previously stated. information gathering ability to understand the situation before anyone else. A monitor showed a big, bulky examinee with what seemed to be tentacles on a rooftop using his arms to scan or look for something. Mobility that can be used in many different circumstances. Another monitor showed the serious guy with the glasses using his speed to pick off enemies one by one. Discernment to be able to stay calm in any situation. A blonde French kid is shown shooting a laser from a device on his waist and decimating the faux villains with complete and utter confidence. And pure combat ability. A monitor screen shows Bakugo in a path of utter destruction as all around him are fallen robots with smoke all around them. He looked like he was constipating as he was maniacally laughing like a crazed psychopath who has been let out of his cage. Everything that came in his way, he destroyed using his explosion quirk, which is an ability very suitable for this practical exam. He just wished Deku were there. If he saw him, he would have destroyed him too and anyone else who dare to try and stand in HS way. Honestly, his actions and attitude kind of freaked some of the judges out. But they couldn't ignore the pure combat prowess and potential that the kid was showing, as he seemed to be one who was a unique card. These basic abilities needed to keep the peace in the streets are turned into points in this test. Doesn't this year's group look promising? A feminine voice said. One monitor showed Izuku flying and smashing and dashing around as he kept on racking up the points with no seemingly end to his chaos. His efficiency was off the charts as he kept on earning so many points in so little time at a constant rate. He was sweating as he kept the fast pace up. He wanted to earn as many points as possible as he was serious about his declaration earlier stating that he was going to be the #1 applicant. No faux villain was safe as they got smashed by the power of one for all or got blasted to smithereens due to Izuku's potent ki blasts. His display of dominance surprised the staff members as they never seen anything like it. The way he moved, it was as if he were born and bred to fight, like it was in his blood. A wild lion that was finally let go from his civilized cage and set free to roam in the wild as he caught his prey. If anything, it was like they were witnessing a mini version of All Might. Especially the young man right there. He just oozes raw power and is a cut above the rest, said the same female judge seductively as she licked her lip hungrily when she saw Izuku's defined muscles through his tracksuit. Well, we can't know for sure yet. Their true test is still to come, said another staff member as he pressed a large red button. Back with Izuku. Detroit Smash. Izuku shouted as he punched a three-pointer square in the face. It fell down and short-circuited completely, making its red eyes turn off, and it could no longer function. All right, I think that's like 141 points. I should try to find some more robots and see if I can boost my score up to 150. Izuku said as he began to walk down a street to look for more faux villains. Throughout the whole practical exam, Izuku has only used 5% of One for All. He saw no reason to change how much power he was using since the robots weren't much of a challenge, and it was provided him with a large amount of quickness, which is one of the main reasons why he was able to rack up so many points. It also didn't spend much stamina, as the higher the percentage of One for All he uses, the more stamina and energy is required. So Izuku deemed it best to just remain at the level he was at for now. It's best to save his energy. Okay, so where are the little critters at? Izuku said, but before he can start moving, the ground began to rumble as buildings around him began to collapse. The other examinees looked up to see what was going on, and what they saw scared the living daylights out of them. Standing taller than all of the buildings was a humongous green robot with 8 red eyes. It had hands the size of trucks that effortlessly crushes the top of tall buildings. It had a base the size of a tank with about 12 to 16 wheels, and along its body, it had missiles that can be fired simultaneously in all possible directions. It looked like all 3 types of robots combined into one, but then multiply the size by like 100, and there you go. Holy crap, it's huge. That must be the zero-pointer. Isn't it a little too big? Izuku said as the zero-pointer proceeded to throw a punch towards the ground, which caused a giant dust wave that momentarily blinded all of the examinees as they were forced to cover their eyes. When the dust wave settled, All other examinees began to run for their lives, as they didn't want to be in the zero-pointer's path of chaos and destruction. Izuku looked up at the monster killer robot and started to shake. It wasn't the nervous kind of shaking, but the strange, exciting kind of shaking that Izuku got right before the exams began. He didn't know why he was starting to have this sensation again. His mind was telling him to run, as he knew he had way more than enough points to pass. But his body, his instinct was telling him otherwise. It was like a strange voice in his heart and soul that was yelling at him to fight the zero-pointer and smash it down. But his more rational and logical mind was telling him to do the opposite. Izuku was frozen. He didn't know what to do. Should he run and hide? Or should he stay and fight? An overwhelming threat. How people act after they've seen this shows their true nature. The young man with the glasses that called out Izuku before ran by Izuku, who was still standing there frozen. He shook his head and kept on running away from the zero-pointer along with everyone else. Less than 2 minutes left. Present Mike shouted as he reminded the examinees how much time they had left. Not that it mattered. It seemed everyone besides Izuku wasn't going to try to gain any more points, as their main priority was to get away from the giant killer zero-pointer as soon as humanly possible. Less than 2 minutes. Izuku said in shock. Damn it, I want to get to 150 points. But it seems I can't since there's a goddamn freaking Metal Godzilla in the way. I guess I won't be able to get 150 points after all. Izuku thought in his head. But just about when he was going to turn around and fly away, he heard something. Ow! Izuku stopped and turned back around. Under a pile of debris and pieces of buildings was the same cute brown-haired girl who saved Izuku from tripping at the school gates earlier today. Her legs seemed to be stuck, and she couldn't get out. Music. My Hero Academia. You Say Run Epic Plus Ultra Cover. By Friedrich Habitler Music. Watch V equals 8 IWVF and Visa. I stopped you with my quirk. I'm sorry I didn't ask you first, but I figured you wouldn't mind me catching you. I don't think you would have enjoyed kissing concrete. Izuku remembered vividly the words she uttered when she saved him from falling onto the ground. And right when he remembered those very words, something in Izuku snapped, and he began to run towards the girl and the zero-pointer. There is absolutely no merit in taking on that faux villain, but that creates opportunity for it to shine brightly. Izuku used 20% one for all, full cowl, to get to the girl as fast as possible. Once he reached her, he lifted up the debris effortless and picked her up bridal style and carried her away to safety. Once Izuku found a spot where he knew she would be safe, he told her, "Stay here and don't come near the zero-pointer." Izuku then used 20% to run back towards the robot. Meanwhile, the girl had a blush on her face, as she could still feel his touch and the way he carried her to safety, and rise to the surface. The staff members of UA widened their eyes as they saw what was transpiring in Battle Center B. They certainly weren't expecting an examinee to face the zero-pointer directly all by himself. Izuku proceeded to fire 2 Delaware smashes at 20% to distract and flinch the zero-pointer. And he succeeded as he was able to push the zero-pointer back a considerable distance. Izuku took this opportunity to open his hands, place his open right hand above and his open left hand below, and place them together. He then brought this pose down toward his right side and began to say, "Kadash." The zero-pointer began to lock his eyes on Izuku as it realized he was trying to do something. So not wasting any time, it began to move again. And this time, its target was none other than Izuku Midoriya. Meet Dash. The UA staff members began to wonder what exactly the spiky green-haired young man was trying to do, as they'd never seen a pose like that before. Just then, a blue-colored energy like Ki Blast was starting to appear inside Izuku's hands. This intrigued the judges, as they were now really curious on what exactly Izuku was going to do with that. Dash. The other examinees began to get nervous as they saw the zero-pointer begin to near Izuku. They didn't know what he was trying to do, but he better hurry up, because with each second, the zero-pointer was getting closer and closer, as each step was almost like an earthquake. Each one getting louder and louder as the zero-pointer began to get closer and closer. Each step symbolizing the doom that was about to fall on Izuku Midoriya if he doesn't act soon. Meet Dash. The brown-haired young girl became to worry and get more worried as the zero-pointer was only 2 or 3 steps away. She wanted to help, but she overused her quirk way too much during the practical exam that she pretty much couldn't do anything. Plus the fact that Izuku gave her a stern warning to not come near the zero-pointer at all pretty much gave her the idea that she couldn't do anything at but watch and pray that he will survive. Just then the blue energy sphere in Izuku's hand became bigger and bigger. After the blue energy sphere reached its max size, Izuku infused one for all power into the energy sphere as well. As a result, the energy sphere became a cyan color as a green lightning surrounded the energy sphere, which amplified its power even more. Just then, the zero-pointed took one last step towards Izuku and raised its right fist and aimed for a punch directly on Izuku's head. Izuku yelled, "Eat this! One for all 20%! Kamehameha!" Izuku shot his hands forward and finally fired the blast with all his might. The energy beam was so powerful that it created a shock wave strong enough to push all of the other examinees watching a couple steps back. The Saiyan energy blast rushed towards the zero-pointer head-on as it was confused on what to do. But it was too late to counter the blast, as it already struck the zero-pointer, and the blast was so wide and potent that it was able to completely envelope the huge robot and blast straight through its entire body. The blast created electrical whirlwinds and the blast completely shredded through the zero-pointer's metal and fried its circuits. The entire zero-pointer was completely vaporized as nothing was left of it. Not a piece of scrap metal in sight. Nothing of the robot survived the Kamehameha. That's right. It rises to the surface, the most important qualification of a hero, the spirit of self-sacrifice. Music end. Izuku looked over at the girl he just saved and smiled. She's safe. I'm so glad. Izuku collapsed and fell unconscious. Due to using one for all 20% and ki at the same time, it immediately sapped at his energy reserves, especially since he used one of his most powerful ki techniques, that being the Kamehameha wave. Izuku knew that it was a risky move since he used all of the one for all energy he currently has access to into one he had to protect her. He wouldn't be able to live with himself if he allowed an innocent girl to get hurt or worse when he could have done something to prevent it, no matter the cost. Right when Izuku hit the ground, Present Mike yelled, "Time's up," as a buzzer went off, signaling the end of the practical exam. All of the other examinees, however, didn't pay much attention to that announcement, as they still were shell-shocked at the display of power from a certain green-haired young man with a monkey tail. Never in their life have they seen somebody use a technique like that, and on such of a destructive scale. Not even All Might has shown something like that. Usually he would just smash villains with his thunderous punches. But never have they seen him shoot a beam called the cyan-colored one that they witnessed Izuku fire from his very hands. What kind of crazy quirk allows somebody to do something like that? What was that guy? He suddenly pushed at the zero-pointer and just completely obliterated it with some kind of laser beam that he shot from his hands. He seemed to have a reinforcement-type quirk, but that was unusual. But if he had such an amazing quirk, what kind of life did he live that made him so jumpy? Maybe he was putting on an act to trick others, but it doesn't look like he gained anything from doing so. Anyway, there's no mistaking that he's an amazing guy. Various other examinees continued to comment on Izuku's strength. All were in awe of what he showed and couldn't believe that there was somebody on that level who was amongst them. The consensus was that Izuku will most likely make it into the hero course of UA. However, a certain boy with glasses was having different thoughts. They're missing the point. Didn't they see? He turned his head toward the brunette that Izuku saved. He jumped out to save that girl. He was aware of the remaining time, his own safety, and the points he needed to pass. And even so, he did not hesitate at all. He remembered vividly how he ran past Izuku, just like everyone else, while Izuku did the opposite and actually challenged the zero-pointer head-on. If we had not been in an exam, of course, I would have done the same. But then his eyes widened as an idea popped into his head. Wait. Exam. Of course? Wait a minute. Okay, good work. Good work, good work. Here you go. Here are some gummies. a short elderly woman said as she gave out candy to the examinees. Thanks, one examinee said. Yes, yes, you too. That mademoiselle is the backbone of UA, said the blonde French kid. The elder lady walked towards Izuku. Oh dear, you were hurt this much by your own quirk? The reason she said this is because Izuku's arms were bruised and battered, as they were a reddish-pink color with many cuts and pores open. This was the direct result of using one for all 20% and a Kamehameha wave at the same time. It's as if his body is not used to his quirk yet. It is true. Izuku's body isn't able to handle the full capabilities of using his ki and one for all at the same time yet. That's why he's trying to find a way to combine the two quirks so he could use them simultaneously without having to waste so much stamina and damage his body as a result. Izuku prides himself in efficiency. And what good is a hero with godly power when he destroys himself with only one attack afterwards? The elder woman puckered and stretched her lips to kiss Izuku's head. What was that? One examinee asked as he and many others were confused at the actions of the elder. The blonde French examiner responded, UAHI's licensed school nurse, the youthful heroine, Recovery Girl. Recovery Girl, also known as Chiyo Shizenji, is a short, elderly woman with gray hair styled into a bun that has a syringe looped through it. She wears a doctor's lab coat and a dress with yellow and red vest-like designs on either side, 2 yellow buttons, and a pink belt. She wears pink boots and has a helmet on her head. In addition, she walks with a cane designed like a syringe that she can also use for healing. After getting kissed on the head, Izuku's arms began to glow with a green light. Somehow the wounds were beginning to fade. Her quirk is the super activation of healing ability. You can only go through with such a reckless entrance exam because of her. All of Izuku's wounds disappeared as his arms looked good as new. Let's finish this quickly. Is anyone else injured? Recovery Girl asked as she went to a couple of examinees who suffered minor injuries during the practical exam. I see. If this exam is set up like that. The boy with the glasses thought as he placed his thumb under his chin in deep thought. Then he's. 1 week later. The following week has been a blur for one Izuku Midoriya. When he woke, he found himself in Recovery Girl's office. She explained to him what transpired after he took down the zero-pointer, how she healed him, and the fact that everybody present was completely in awe of the feat he was able to pull off when everybody else ran away. He asked her if anybody else got hurt by the zero-pointer. When she replied with no, Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. Recovery Girl was honestly impressed. She didn't expect Izuku to be so caring of others, even though he was really the only one who suffered major injuries. Kids these days are usually concerned with how flashy their quirks are and whatnot. But Izuku seems to have come from a rare breed. He already had the mindset and spirit of a hero, and it sure helps that his quirk is very powerful. Recovery Girl asked Izuku if he felt all right, and Izuku told her that he felt better than ever. Her also said that he actually felt stronger after she healed him, which is weird, but Izuku brushed it aside as it probably being because he was able to get some rest. When he got home, Momo called him to ask how the exams went. He told her that the written exam was really easy, and he is pretty confident in himself that he got a perfect score. He then went on to tell her that he got 141 points in the practical exam. Momo was absolutely shocked and told him that score must be a record. She explained to him that the only people to have gotten over 100 points on the UA practical entrance exams were the number 4 hero Best Jeanist, the number 2 hero Endeavor, and of course the number 1 hero and symbol of peace All Might. Izuku was surprised after hearing this, because he didn't know that information before. He felt pride in himself to be one of only 4 people to get over 100 points in the hardest hero course practical exam in all of Japan, where the acceptance rate is less than 3 in 100. Izuku now knew for sure that he was going to get into UA. Izuku told Momo that he would have gotten more points if it weren't for the zero-pointer creating chaos and endangering a girl's life. He explained to her that he couldn't let someone get hurt or worse when he could do something to prevent it. Momo's face flushed when she heard Izuku's words. She was impressed by the level of selflessness he showed. Even though he could have gotten more points and possibly surpass All Might's record for the most points in the practical exam history. He sacrificed that glory to save another examinee, because he knew that was the right thing to do, and it was what a true hero would have done. It just made him all the more attractive in her eyes. When he told his mother how he did, Inko was delighted with happiness. In order to award him for his performance in the entrance exam of the best hero course in all of Japan, she made him his favorite meal and quadrupled the size so that he could eat all he wanted until his stomach could not take any more. Izuku cried tears of joy and thanked her over 1,000,000 times, calling her the greatest mother in the world. In the present day, it was evening. Izuku was on the couch lifting weights, continuing his training just like how All Might told him to do. He missed the feeling of looseness and lightness he felt when he took the weights off, but he had no choice but to continue training. He wanted to be the #1 hero after all, and he can't be wasting time slacking off and doing nothing. Ever since the entrance exam, Izuku hadn't been able to contact All Might. He hasn't answered any of his text messages or calls. Izuku at first was worried and thought that maybe he didn't get into UA and All Might was disappointed in him and didn't want anything to do with him anymore. But Izuku calmed and just guessed that he was busy with his hero work. He is the #1 hero, for crying out loud. Of course, he would be busy and not have much time to contact Izuku. He just hoped that he will hear from him soon. Izuku promised that he wouldn't tell anyone about One for All. All Might entrusted him with his power. He needed to remain as the symbol of peace until it was Izuku's turn to inherit the torch. So, he'll keep his mouth shut. Just then, Inko came barging into the living room. Izuku. Izuku, it's here. It came. It's here. In her hand was an envelope with a red stamp showing the UA symbol. 5 minutes later, Inko was pacing around outside Izuku's room. She was really nervous for the results. She knew how much getting into UA meant for Izuku. She didn't want all of his hard work over the past 10 months be for nothing. Izuku is inside his bedroom on his desk. He stared blankly at the envelope in the middle of his desk. The envelope that will decide his fate. What the hell am I waiting for? Izuku yelled as he picked up the envelope and opened it by pulling it apart in half. Out of it fell a small metal device that landed on his desk. A light projection showed up, and in it revealed All Might in his hero form. I am here as a projection. Tashinori-sensei. Wait. This is from UA, right? What? All Might was in a pink background wearing a yellow suit and blue tie. I had to do some paperwork that took some time, so I couldn't contact you. All Might coughed and bowed. I'm sorry. Actually, I came to this town to work at UA. Tashinori-sensei is working at UA. HM? What is it? Somebody was trying to talk to All Might behind the scenes, explaining to him that he had to wrap it up soon. Wrap it up? But there is something I must talk to him about. It's going to push everything else back? All right. Okay. Izuku swallowed in anticipation for what his teacher and idol was about to say next. Congratulations, my boy. You got a perfect score on the written exam and 141 points on the practical exam. One of only 4 people in history to score over 100 points, including myself, the #2 hero Endeavor, and the #4 hero Best Genist. Of course that means you pass with flying colors. Izuku smirked. Yeah, kind of already knew that, sensei. But there was a secret component added to the test. Izuku raised his eyebrows, curious to what the #1 hero was talking about. I'm an entertainer as well. First, take a look at this video. All Might clicked a button on a remote, and it showed a video. Excuse me, the nice person? Izuku said in shock as the video showed the brunette that Izuku saved from the 0-pointer during the practical exam. She came to negotiate directly in person after the exam. Negotiate what? Keep watching to find out. All Might press play and resumed the video. The person with green, spiky, and curly hair and freckles. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's very tall and muscular with a brown tail. He also has a handsome face. Izuku's face went red. She's talking about me? Is it possible for me to give him some of my points? There was still time left, and he could have gotten more points if he wanted to. But instead, he came and saved me from the 0-pointer. So I thought maybe he needed more points. Music, Boku no Hero Academia, OSD 2. You can become a hero. What the hell can you do? Izuku heard the voice of Bakugo in his head. At least the points he lost because of me. There is absolutely no reason for you to put yourself in danger. Izuku also began to hear the voice of Death Arms. He saved me. Izuku gasped as he stood up from his chair, as he was utterly speechless. Please, please, please. All Might paused the video. In addition to now having a quirk, your actions spurred others to act. All Might turned and looked at the camera. The entrance exam the other day was not graded only on villain points. All Might resumed the video. Even if you asked to, you cannot give him your points. Anyway, there's no reason to give him any. Female listener. Present Mike said as he patted her head. All Might paused the video. How can a hero course reject people who save others and do the right thing? Call that lip service? Bring it on. This is a job that requires risking one's life to put that lip service into practice. Rescue points, and they're given by a panel of judges. It's the other basic ability we at UA look at. A scoreboard showed up displaying all of the examinees' scores from top to bottom. Izuku saw his name at the number 1 spot. Izuku Midoriya, 60 rescue points. It then showed the number 4 spot. And Achiko Uraraka, 45 rescue points. You both pass. And with 141 villain points and 60 rescue points, makes a total of 201 points. You, Izuku Midoriya, scored the highest amount of points of all time in the UA practical exam. And you're the only one to ever score over 200 points. Izuku's eyes began to water as tears were threatening to spill out. This is too crazy. It's unreal. I must be dreaming. Why am I so blessed? All Might opened his hand towards the camera. Come, young Midoriya. This your hero, Academia. Izuku wiped the tears out of his eyes as he could barely control his tears of joy from exploding. Yes, sir. After receiving a lot of help and waking up with a brown monkey tail one day, Izuku's life changed and will continue to change. And now his dream high school life is about to begin. However, this is only the beginning of his journey, as I almost forgot to mention. This is the story of how Izuku Midoriya became the greatest hero of all time.